quote, terminated. They're arguing, given the ongoing ceasefire, the pause for the most part in the fighting, that 60-day clock doesn't apply to them. So I asked the president specifically why he feels this is the case, what his rationale is for not seeking congressional approval at this time, and this is what he told me.
Because it's never been sought before. There's been many times, and nobody's ever gotten it before. They consider it totally unconstitutional. But we're always in touch with Congress. But nobody's ever sought it before. Nobody's ever asked for it before. It's never been used before. Why should we be different?
Now, that is not accurate, Kate, when the president says that no one has sought congressional approval. That's just not true when we're talking about presidents of past administrations. So there are examples like former President Barack Obama, specifically when it came to Libya in 2011, who said that he didn't believe he needed congressional approval for a different rationale. So there are some examples of that, but it's not true to say flatly that no president has ever had to go seek congressional approval. But I think what's important to point out, too, is that the president is leaving the door open to additional or future military action, which I guess this administration then would argue starts a new clock and begins a new military operation. Kate.
All right, Monica, thank you. Courtney, you're part of the team that has reporting on those Iranian weapons that we mentioned are maybe being dug out now. What do we know?
Yeah, so Iran has taken advantage during the ceasefire, the cessation of offensive operations by the U.S. and the Israelis, to dig out some things like their ballistic missile stockpiles that may have been damaged in some cases, or the facilities themselves may have been struck by airstrikes. But in some cases, the missiles have not been damaged. They're pulling those out from underground, also some of their drones, and very critically, some of their ballistic missile launchers. Now, we know since the ceasefire began that at least half of their drone and ballistic missile stockpile remains intact, if not buried, either by the strikes or, Kate, very critically, in some cases, the Iranian buried some of their stockpile and some of their launchers because they wanted to keep them safe during that war. This is giving Iran an opportunity to be in a better spot if, in fact, the U.S. restarts combat operations in Iran. But the U.S. is doing the same thing. In some ways, the U.S. has more firepower in the region now than they did on February 27th before the war began. And that is in the form of the USS George H.W. Bush Carrier Strike Group with a fresh air wing should, in fact, the president decide to restart operations, as Monica was just saying.
And Monica, just quickly, the president is expected to meet with China's president later this month. How big a factor is that in all this decision-making the White House is making about Iran?
We know it's a contributing factor. It's certainly a part of the conversation, and the president today even indicated he's really looking forward to that visit to Beijing that, as you pointed out, is less than 2 weeks away. And we know that that has been an overall part of the conversation and the discussions that the White House is having about whether to have this final blow, potentially, this additional military action that the president himself says he doesn't know if he needs to do that. That would not be his preference, he said today, but that he hasn't made that ultimate determination about whether he needs to do that. And then the question would be, is that something that would need to happen in the next 10 days or so before he leaves for China? Kate.
All right, Monica Alba, Courtney Cuby, thanks, ladies, appreciate it. A high school in Washington State has canceled classes today after a stabbing there yesterday afternoon. 5 students and a security guard were hurt during this incident at Foss High School, which is in Tacoma. NBC News obtained video of the incident, which we have to warn you may be disturbing to watch. The video shows an altercation in the school's hallway as a security officer attempts to intervene. Authorities say the stabbing suspect is a student who is now in custody. Joining us now is NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz. Liz, what more can you tell us about what happened, and what do we know about the condition of the people injured?
Yeah, Kay, well, we don't know a lot more. Officials haven't given a significant update, except for we did get some good news on the conditions of those 6 people, which is that they are all now in stable condition. As of last night, 4 of the people involved in this were in serious or critical condition, and one of those people that was taken to the hospital is the student that's considered the suspect, who was also receiving medical care. So that's some good news. But what we know from student witnesses is that this did begin from some kind of fight. Take a listen.
Some of them were bleeding. Like one of them was real injured right here. They were bleeding. There's blood on the floor. The security guard, I think he got stabbed right in his forearm. And yeah, it was a lot going on because people were screaming.
And this happened around 1:30 in the afternoon during class time in the hallway. The video that we've been talking about that we've obtained, you can see the 5 students getting into an altercation. It's hard to kind of pinpoint exactly who the suspect is that officials are talking about, but if you look at it slowly, you can see there is one student that does appear to have a sharp object and begins slashing some of the other students. And at the end, there's some blood on the floor, Kate.
Yeah, all of which has to be really traumatic for all the other students that are in the hallway there. Classes were canceled today, right? Do we know when students will return to school, and how are they getting support?
Yeah, so it seems like it was obviously pretty traumatic for a lot of the students, and of course the parents as well, who rushed to reunite with their kids. The whole school was evacuated. It was placed on lockdown, and classes were canceled for today. The school says that classes are going to resume on Monday, and they are going to provide counselors that will be available to any students or staff that need it, Kate.
All right, Liz Kreutz, thank you. For the first time in 7 years, direct commercial flights are once again flying between the United States and Venezuela. We told you about this yesterday when the inaugural American Airlines flight took off from Miami before landing in Caracas. It was an emotional day for many Americans who have ties to that South American country, and they still have a lot of questions about the future of Venezuela. Telemundo anchor Julio Vaquero was on yesterday's flight and has more for us from Caracas.
Hello, Kate, from Caracas, Venezuela. Yes, we came here in the first commercial flight from the United States to Venezuela in 7 years. In 2019, the United States canceled those commercial flights. Nicolas Maduro was the president back then, but today, as we all know, Nicolas Maduro has been in a New York prison for more than 4 months. So that flight has had a very symbolic impact for Venezuelans. Now, we came here with many questions in mind. Is really change happening in Venezuela? How does that transformation look like? And who is being benefited by that change? Because, of course, many see that commercial flight from the U.S. to Venezuela as an opportunity to open new economic doors. However, a lot of workers, thousands of workers came out to the streets yesterday, that same day when that plane landed in Caracas. Workers were out on the street protesting, asking for an increase in their minimum salary. And yes, Delcy Rodriguez announced an increase in the minimum salary, $240 a month. So, of course, it's not enough for a family in Caracas to pay for very basic needs. That is one question, the economic transformation. Who is receiving the benefits of that transformation? And on the other hand, many think here that things can't change without political prisoners being liberated. According to Foro Penal, a non-governmental organization, almost 500 people are still in jails as political prisoners and haven't been liberated. Many people say that they have to be liberated before things can move forward. We'll continue to report from Caracas, Venezuela. Kate.
Julio Vaquero, thank you.